더 셀피쉬지. 리차드 도킨스. 더 셀피쉬지. Chapter 5. Aggression, Stability and the Selfish Emotion. This chapter is mostly about the much misunderstood topic of aggression. We shall continue to treat the individual as a selfish machine programmed to do whatever is best for its genes as a whole. This is the language of convenience. At the end of the chapter, we return to the language of single genes. To a survival machine, another survival machine, which is not its own child or another close relative, is part of its environment, like a rock, or a river, or a lump of food. It's something that gets in the way, or something that can be exploited. It's different from a rock or a river in one important respect. It's inclined to hit back. This is because it's a machine that holds immortal genes in trust for the future. And it will stop at nothing to preserve them. Natural selection favors genes that control their survival machine in such a way that they make the best use of their environment. This includes making the best use of the other survival machines, both the same and of different species. In some cases, survival machines seem to infringe rather little on each other's life. For instance, moles and blackbirds do not eat each other, mate with each other, or compete with each other for living space. Even so, we must not treat them as completely insulated. They may compete for something, perhaps earthworms. This does not mean you will ever see a mole or a blackbird engaged in a tug of war over a worm. Indeed, a blackbird may never set eye on a mole in its life. But if you wipe out the population of mole, the effect of a blackbird might be dramatic, although I could not hazard a guess as to what the detail might be, nor by what totally indirect route the influence might travel. Survival machines of different species influence each other in a variety of ways. They may be predate or prey, parasite or host, competitors for some scarce resource. They may be exploited in special ways, as for instance, when bees are used as pollen carrier by flowers. Survival motion of the same species tend to infringe on each other's lives more directly. This is for many reasons. One is that help the population of one's own species may be potential mate, or potentially hard-working and exploitable parents to others, to one's children. Another reason is that the members of the same species, being very similar to each other, being machines for preserving genes in the same kind of place, with the same kind of way of life, are particularly direct competitors for all the resources necessary for life. To a blackbird, a mole may be a competitor, but it's not literally so important a competitor as another blackbird. Mole and blackbirds may compete for worms, but blackbirds and blackbirds compete with each other for worms and for everything else. If they are members of the same sex, they may also compete for mating partners. For reason that we shall see, it's usually the male who compete with each other for females. This means that a male might benefit his own genes if he does something detrimental to another male with whom he is competing. The logical policy of a survival machine might therefore seem to be murder his rival, and then, preferably, to eat them. Although murder and cannibalism to occur in nature, they are not as common as a naive interpretation of the selfish gene theory might predict. Indeed, Conrad Lorenz in On Aggression stressed the restraint and gentlemanly nature of animal fighting. For him, the notable thing about animal fight is that they are formal tournaments played according to rules like those of boxing or fencing. Animal fight is gloved fist and blunted foils. Threat and bluff take the place of deadly earnest. Gesture of surrender are recognized by victors, who then refrain from dealing the killing blow or a bite than our native theory might predict. This interpretation of animal aggression as being restrained as formal can be disputed. In particular, it is certainly wrong to condemn poor world Homo sapiens as the only species to kill his own kind, the only inheritor to the mark of Cain, and similar melodramatic charge. Whether a naturalist stress the violence of the restraint of animal aggression depends partly on the kind of animal he is used to watching, and partly on his evolutionary preconception. Orange is, after all, a good of species man. Even if it's been exaggerated, the gloved fist view of animal fights seems to have at least some truth. Superficially, this looks like a form of altruism. The selfish gene theory must face up to the difficult task of explaining why is it that animals do not go all out to kill rival members of their species at every possible opportunity. The general answer to this is that there are costs as well as benefits resulting from outright pugnacity, and not only the obvious cost in time and energy. For instance, suppose that B and C are both my rival, and I happen to meet B. It might seem sensible for me as a selfish individual to try to kill him, but wait. C is also my rival, and C is also B's rival. By killing B, I am potentially doing a good turn to C by removing one of his rivals. I might have done better to let B live, because he might then have competed or fought with C, thereby benefiting me indirectly. The moral of this simply hypothetical example is that there is no obvious merit in indiscriminately trying to kill rivals. In a large and complex system of rival, removing one rival from a scene does not necessarily do any good. Other rivals may be more likely to benefit from his death than oneself. This is the kind of hard lesson that had been learned by pest control officers. You have a serious agricultural pest, you discover a good way to exterminate it, and you gleefully do so, only to find that another pest benefit from the extermination even more than human agriculture does, and you end up worse off than you were before. On the other hand, it might seem a good plan to kill or at least fight with certain particular rivals in a discriminating way. If B is an elephant still in a possession of a large harem full of females, and if I, another elephant still, can acquire his harem by killing him, I might be well advised to attempt to do so, but there are costs and risks even in selectivity, pugnacity. It's to B's advantage to fight back, to defend his valuable property. If I start a fight, I am just as likely to end up dead as he is. perhaps even more so. He holds a valuable resource. That is why I want to fight him. But why does he hold it? Perhaps he won it in combat. He has probably beaten off other challengers before me. He is probably a good fighter. Even if I win the fight and gain the harem, I may be so badly mauled in the process that I cannot enjoy the benefit. Also, fighting uses up time and energy. This might be better conserved for the time being if I concentrate on feeding and on keeping out of trouble for a time. I shall grow bigger and stronger. I'll fight him for the harem in the end, but I may have a better chance of winning eventually if I wait rather than rush in now.